For almost a decade, there was one show that completely dominated the conversation, everywhere. It shattered records, it redefined TV, and you just couldn't escape it. Of course, we are talking about Game of Thrones.
So here's the big question, right? How did a fantasy show about dragons and warring families become the single biggest thing on TV, only to have its legacy forever tied to its incredibly controversial ending? It's a wild story of massive success and a spectacular, divisive fall. So let's get into it.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to see how the whole war kicked off, meet the key players and what they were after, and then just race through this epic saga. After that, we'll dig into the big themes, tackle that finale head-on, and finally, look at the legacy it left behind.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in a place where summers can last for decades and winters can last a lifetime. It's a land of breathtaking beauty and just absolutely brutal politics. Welcome to Westeros.
Now, at the very center of everything is this, the Iron Throne. And believe me, this isn't just some fancy chair. It is the absolute symbol of power, literally forged from the swords of defeated enemies. The burning desire to sit on that throne and rule the Seven Kingdoms, that's the engine that drives this entire incredible story.
The whole thing really kicks off with one suspicious death. The king's right-hand man is dead. So the king travels all the way north to ask his best friend, the super honorable Ned Stark, to take the job. And this one decision, this single choice, pulls the entire Stark family into the Viper's Nest of King's Landing, and it completely changes the fate of everyone in the realm.
So the board is set, the pieces are moving. Now it's time to meet the main players. You've got three major powers, and they are all gunning for the exact same prize.
Okay, first up, you've got House Stark. They rule the North, and their whole world revolves around honor, family, and duty. Their motto, "Winter is coming," isn't just about the weather. It's a warning to always be prepared. And then you've got House Lannister. They are the richest, most powerful family around, and they care about one thing, power. Their family motto says it all. A Lannister always pays his debts. And trust me, that is both a promise and a threat. These two houses were on a collision course from the very beginning.
But wait, across the Narrow Sea, there is a total wild card, Daenerys Targaryen. She's the last surviving member of the old royal family that was overthrown. She starts with literally nothing, but she has a legendary name, an iron will, and, well, eventually she gets dragons. Her entire life becomes a single-minded quest to raise an army, cross the sea, and take back the Iron Throne she's convinced is her birthright.
So you've got this incredible setup, and it just explodes into a story that became legendary. Not just because it was huge, but because it was willing to do the absolute unthinkable, over and over again.
I mean, just look at how this show constantly upped the ante. In Season 1, it killed off its main character. That sent a message right away. Nobody is safe. Then you had the Red Wedding, a massacre so brutal it basically broke the internet and completely redefined what you could show on TV. The scale just kept getting bigger. From the insane Battle of the Bastards, to the terrifying Long Night, all the way to Daenerys just burning a city to the ground.
But, beyond all the shocking moments and the giant battles, what was this story actually about? What were the big ideas that kept us all talking and debating for all those years?
The show was just obsessed with how absolute power corrupts people. It made it impossible to tell the good guys from the bad guys, forcing you to question who you were even rooting for. Was it about family loyalty versus personal ambition? Or maybe it was all about destiny versus free will? Or maybe the whole point was that all these political games mean nothing when there's a real, existential threat knocking at your door. The genius of the show is that it was all of those things at once. And that, of course, brings us to the great paradox of Game of Thrones. For 7 seasons, it was an untouchable, critically acclaimed empire. But for so many fans, that final season felt like a kingdom of disappointment.
First, let's just state the facts. 59. That's how many Primetime Emmy Awards this show won. It is one of the most awarded dramas in the history of television, period. By any official measure, it was a massive, monumental success.
But then there's this. A sentiment captured perfectly by a fan online. It could have been my favorite show of all time with a better ending. That one sentence speaks for literally millions of people who felt like the show just completely fumbled the landing.
So, the big complaints really boiled down to a few key questions. Daenerys turning into a tyrant. Did that feel earned, or was it way too rushed? Jaime Lannister had this amazing redemption arc, but then he just went right back to his sister. Why? The huge secret about Jon Snow's parents. Did it even matter in the end?
And the Night King, this ultimate supernatural threat, was he defeated a little too easily?
Now here is the crucial piece of context for all this criticism. The showrunners had a problem that almost no other show has ever had. They ran out of book. They literally outpaced the author, George R.R. Martin, and had to figure out the ending all on their own.
And you can hear the strain in Martin's own words. He calls the long-delayed book the curse of my life. The show had to finish the story based on his general ideas, but the detailed roadmap? Well, that was still being written.
Okay, so even with all the fiery debate about the ending, the show's legacy is just undeniable. It didn't just entertain us, it fundamentally changed what television could be. Seriously, Game of Thrones dragged epic fantasy kicking and screaming out of the niche corners and planted it right in the center of pop culture. It proved a TV show could look and feel like a massive Hollywood blockbuster. In an age where everyone was binge-watching, this show made Sunday nights a global event again. And of course, its success created a whole universe of spin-offs, so we're going to be in Westeros for a long, long time.
So if you had to boil it all down to a few sentences, it's a sweeping epic about noble families fighting for a throne, all while being totally clueless about a real supernatural threat looming in the north. It's a story packed with political games, brutal war, and the corrupting nature of power, and it all ends with one of the most divisive and truly unforgettable conclusions ever.
Which leaves us with one final huge question hanging in the air. We saw the ending that television and deadlines gave us, but with the author still writing, will we ever get to read his ending? Will the Song of Ice and Fire have a different final verse? Well, that's a story that's still being told.